Are you like me? And I just love this time of the year. The beginning of a new homeschool year just feels so fresh and so exciting. And I hope that you feel like that. I hope that you're feeling refreshed after your summer and you're excited about this year. I am also excited about this Back to Homeschool series this week and for us as we kick off the new homeschool year. Are you feeling overwhelmed, though, by how to meet your children's educational needs best? Are you tired of the endless chores that just don't get done and continue to keep piling up? Today is the day to reclaim your homeschool and your home with one amazing sale. And it is a course bundle of Your Homeschool Blueprint and The Tidy Home. It is available together, bundled for one amazing price, but it's only available this week until this Friday, August 9th of 2024. It will end at midnight of that night as we go into Saturday. You can get all the information at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/bundle, spelled BUNDLE. The link is also in the show notes for you. And you can get 2 programs for a never-before-seen deal. Okay, I hope to see you over there. But for now, let's talk about housework. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where you'll learn tips and strategies that will empower you to home educate your children. I'm Leigh Nguyen, a homeschool mom of over 12 years, which includes 2 graduates. When I started homeschooling, I was pretty much on my own and was desperate for encouragement and help. My mission is to be a source of encouragement and help to you. Whether you are just beginning your homeschool journey or you're deep into the homeschool lifestyle, Little by Little Homeschool wants to help you stay the course because all the time you are investing into your children is completely worth it. If you're ready to take your homeschool to new levels, keep listening. Let's have a little heart-to-heart and just know that this is a safe place for you to admit that you might be drowning in your housework, in the chores. There is just an endless amount of chores that need to be done, right? You have an endless amount of to-do lists for your home, whether that is written out to-do list or that is a mental to-do list as you're looking around at all the things that need to be done. When children are small and in the home, small and young in the home, there is just a lot more to do. And there is only maybe so much that they can do. And there's also just a lot more mess that comes along with more people in a home. It's just the way it is. There is not always a rhyme or a reason for you to reach your breaking point. But you know what that feels like. You get to the breaking point and you might freak out. You might flip out a little bit. And it's just the final last straw. Maybe that has to do with the shoes that are left out again, or I was going to say jackets, but we don't have those at this time of the year, but you know what I mean. The rest of the year, then yes, that applies. Maybe it's the games that are left out. Maybe it is the dirty dishes that are still in the sink, or the clean dishes in the dishwasher that have not been emptied. Maybe it's the sink is just gross. Maybe the bathrooms are kind of gross, or maybe the floor is sticky and they really need to be mopped. And you get to that point and you just hit that breaking point. And it is not pretty. It's not pretty for you. It's not pretty for your family. And there is a mess in the home, but also a mess then to clean up afterwards when it comes to emotions and the way that a situation is handled. And that was me. I love to-do lists, so I'm not knocking them necessarily. And guess what? I still use them for my random weekends when I just don't want to necessarily have to think about what needs to be done. And I just kind of I'm like, all right, I'm on a mission today. And my kiddo is at work and my husband and my other son have things going on. So let's just get her done kind of thing. So I do enjoy a to-do list. However, pretty much mostly half, if not more, of that to-do list is just my rinse and repeat chores from my Tidy Home system that I've created that is specialized to me and this season in life and my goals for my home. And no one in my family has to wonder daily what are some chores that they need to do, or how can they help out in the family? They don't need to wonder weekly, what are their responsibilities? And I want that for you as well. And today's tips are going to help you with that. Now, if you listened to yesterday's episode, and I surely hope that you did, I'm going to sound a little bit like a parrot here in the beginning when it comes to how I started off sharing those steps in yesterday's episode. If you didn't listen to it, you should go back and listen to it. It's the first in the series, and it's all about choosing curriculum. So here it is where I'm going to sound a little bit like a parrot, and we're talking about you and your home and your family, but this is specifically also just about the housekeeping and the chores. But the first thing is that you have to be realistic about your expectations. Before you had children, your house might have been pristine, or maybe it wasn't pristine, but it was functional and it worked well for you and your husband. And guess what? You probably had less stuff because it was just the two of you, and maybe you were newlyweds. And the goals and the way that you wanted your home to feel, the aesthetic, the look, and how you kept up with all of the housework is vastly different than what it looks like right now. We need to be just focused on the season of life that we are in at that time. It is fine to think back and be like, oh, wasn't that great? And we always look back with rose-colored glasses, don't we? And you can romanticize the season before the one that you are in right now. And I can do that too. I can romanticize when my kids were all at home and little and making messes. I'm like, oh, I'm sure it wasn't that bad. No, I have some very specific memories of it being that bad and me being just overwhelmed and exhausted by it all. So let's just focus on the season of life that you are in right now and be realistic. It's not always possible in every season of life to be able to get everything done in your home that you want to get done. You might not be able to get all of those fun DIY projects done that you're looking around and thinking, oh, that would be fun. Maybe you got some inspiration from Instagram or from Pinterest and you're like, I could do that. It might just not work for you right now in this season of life. It also might not work really well for you to decide that you have to have all of your baseboards and all of your ceiling fans dusted every single week. Yeah, did you just laugh out loud thinking about that? I don't even get to that every single week in my season of life. And guess what? Most people do not. Have you seen those Instagram reels? It's funny. It's like a guy saying, this is what my wife thinks that guests are going to do when they come to our house. And one of the things is that they bend over and check the baseboards and make sure that they're clean. Because you know, you and I both know that you might be hosting people like, oh no, I have to clean the baseboards. And you haven't done it in an entire year, but suddenly somebody's coming over for dinner and you have to get it done because you think that they are going to notice. I just think it's kind of funny. But it might not be realistic at all, ever, in any season, to be like, okay, my baseboards and ceiling fans are all always dusted, and they're always dusted every single week. Now, I know it's kind of an extreme. Those are two things that people tend to ignore. And honestly, I mean, I don't know, how do you get all the way up there to the ceiling fan and the dust falls? Oh, it's just, yeah, not a very fun chore. But just be realistic in what actually can happen in that season of life. To be honest, when it comes to the baseboards, I feel like my baseboards were cleaner when my kids were younger because I would just give them a damp rag, sometimes just to fill up some of the time because they just needed something to do. And I needed them to be focused on something, and it didn't always get all of the parts of it. But I feel like there were seasons where my baseboards might have been cleaner than they are right now. Now I'm like, okay, I'm the shortest person in the house right now, and I don't crawl around as easily as my kids did when they were 5 or 6 and they thought it was fun to crawl around and try to race each other and get all the baseboards clean. But let's just be realistic in the season of life that you are in right now. What actually can happen? What chores, what housework is really possible to do right now? Your entire family, they have to be involved in helping to maintain the home. Your kids, they get to be a part of your family in all ways because you homeschool and you do have all day with them. Now, I know you're also thinking, yeah, I have all day with them, so therefore they have all day to make a mess. But this goes beyond even the messes. This can go to the nitty-gritty. This can go to the mopping. This can go to the actually pulling everything out from underneath your kitchen sink and giving that a good wipe down, and then putting back in only the things that actually need to be there in an organized manner and throwing away all of the junk. and you're just thinking right now, ooh, what does it look like underneath my kitchen sink? Maybe right now in this season, you're like, I don't care what it looks like underneath my kitchen sink. That's absolutely fine. And you might be in seasons where like, yeah, I actually do have the time to care about that. Or it might be just a pet peeve of yours, something that you want to keep up with. But your family has to help. Yes, it can be hard to train and to teach your children when they are young, and it's going to be a lot of repetition. You're going to say to yourself, I said this to them the last time they made their bed, which was just yesterday, and I have to repeat myself again today. Yes, you're going to have to. You're going to have to repeat yourself many, many times. You're going to have to show them. You're going to have to do the chores with them many, many times. But I can promise you that it pays off. Chores don't have to be a terrible thing to do. We can make them fun, but we can also temper that with the fact that just some of these things need to happen and need to get done. If we don't ever take off the sheets off our bed, then we can't ever wash them and can't ever have clean sheets on our beds, which actually should be a goal to do. But guess what? You get to decide how often that happens, and that is you being realistic in that season of life. There were some seasons where my boys specifically had clean sheets on their beds almost every single night. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And other seasons where it didn't happen as often. But there are just some seasons where you can pour in and you can take care of all the little nitty gritties. And there's some seasons where some things are going to be important to get done and some things are just not going to be important. But the family has got to help. Have your kids help you. Have them see what it takes to maintain a home. It's a blessing to let them help you because guess what? Someday they'll be out on their own and they'll know how to take care of a home. So what actually does need to happen in your home in order to maintain chores? What chores do you actually need to keep up with? Well, guess what? You get to evaluate what you really want and need to get done. As I mentioned, okay, underneath the kitchen sink, you're like, I don't have time, bandwidth, or energy, or desire to even think about that. However, maybe it's probably a good idea to scrub out your kitchen sink once in a while. So you can decide, yeah, that actually probably would be a good thing to do. Until I started doing that regularly, I didn't quite realize how gross my kitchen sink would actually get. And now it's something that I don't mind doing, and it only takes me 5 minutes. I do it once a week. And it looks great. And I even noticed that after that 1 week, I'm like, oh, it's getting a little bit gross. And I think to myself, oh my goodness, I used to let this go for weeks and months and maybe even years. And some of you are saying, yes, that's me. I'm not pointing any fingers. It's okay. It's just one of my things that I have decided that I want to have done on a regular basis. And it makes me feel like I've gotten something done when I've gotten that scrubbed out and all the dishes are clean and I can walk into a clean kitchen ready to prepare the next meal. That helps to keep me from flipping out about silly things. It doesn't have to be that tipping point, and it can be. My kitchen can be the tipping point for me when I come down and notice that everybody has just left everything a mess. And so that also goes back to training and teaching children that if they use something, make something in the kitchen, showing them how to clean it up. But take the time to evaluate what you really want and need done. This can be a personal thing. Maybe you have no desire to make sure that underneath the beds are vacuumed. That's okay. Maybe you've got containers. I remember having lots of containers of toys and stuff underneath my kids' beds, especially things like Legos. But just know that you have different pet peeves than others might have. You might have things that you're like, I would like this straightened up every day, this certain area of my home. Or maybe you're like, once a week, this is what I need to have done. One way of deciding what is it that is kind of a pet peeve, what is something that if I can get these couple of things or even just one thing done on a regular basis, whether that is daily or weekly or a couple times a week, is to decide what's important to me to have cleaned up when we have guests over. And that will actually really narrow it down. You could say, oh, I would love to have my entire house from top to bottom cleaned and sanitized and not a speck of dust in my house before others come. Well, that's not going to happen. I wish it would, but it's not going to happen. You're going to get one room done and the next room is going to be all dusty and the kids are going to take everything out from the other room and it's okay. But decide what is it would be the bare minimum. That is a really good place to start. I'll tell you my bare minimum. My bare minimum, if I know people are coming over, My rule is if you just show up, you get what you get, and you don't get upset. But if I know you're going to come over, I will take the time to do two specific things because it makes me feel like I am now prepared. My home is prepared to welcome these people, and you don't have to have anything. I'm not putting any pressure on you at all. But for me, I feel like, okay, I've done something and people won't be grossed out by me. And that is bathrooms and having my floors kind of vacuumed, at least at the entrance where people take off their shoes. And if you're stepping on stuff and little stones and dirt and everything, I'm like, oh, that's I don't like doing that. So those are the two things. If I can get the toilets and then the bathroom sinks cleaned up and then also have floors kind of cleaned up, then I feel like, okay, I'm ready to welcome people into my home, which, like I said, you can just show up and you get what you get. And it doesn't mean that I can't have people over if I don't do those things. But to me, those are the two bare minimum things. And so every week I make sure that I get those things done because it makes me feel like I've accomplished something. So that's another way of thinking about it too, is what is going to help me feel accomplished. So evaluate what really needs to be done. Ceiling fans, baseboards, maybe that's not important, but you're saying I would like to change the sheets every single week. I would like to get our toilets and our sinks cleaned out every single week and our shower. Maybe you're saying, well, I can do that maybe every other week. There might be mopping of floors and you might say, I'd like to get it done more often, but it's just not possible right now. So maybe I'll say once a month or every other month. So evaluate what you really want done and how often. So write that down on a list. You can have a list of daily chores. You can have a list of weekly chores or things that you want done maybe on a monthly basis. For your kids, I highly recommend some type of chore chart, chore system, something. I have found that with children, that if they have something they need to do and then they get to do something to symbolize that that chore is accomplished, it helps them feel accomplished. And there's a ton of different ideas. And I remember doing a couple of different things throughout the years. And my favorite chore system is something that I share with everybody in the Tidy Home. And it is one that served us the longest. And if I had to go back to a chore system, I would definitely use that. But having some way of communicating with your kids what is expected of them, whether that's a daily basis or a weekly basis. So having that list, that way, you don't have to continue to make decisions because we can get into decision fatigue very easily as homeschool moms. How do you get this stuff done? When do you get this stuff done? Set up some times during the day. Now, it doesn't mean that every single day you have to be doing chores and you have to be doing cleaning. Maybe you want to get the bulk of it done during a weekday so you guys can sit back and not have to worry about it on the weekend. Or maybe you say, I don't have time during the weekend, but I do have time. I don't have time during the week, but I do have time on the weekend. So you really have to evaluate. Again, going back to what is realistic, what's going to work right now for this season. And as you go into this homeschool year, it's going to look a little bit different than last homeschool year. And so let's adjust and let's make things work during this week that's going to work for you right now. So set up those times during the day. It could be something like regularly every day before dad gets home, we get things kind of straightened up. Now that's not the nitty gritty of all of the little chores and the getting the floors vacuumed or swept and mopped and wiping down maybe kitchen cabinets or cleaning the shower or clearing out the closets of clutter, but just having a time during the day where you just do some regular things. Getting the dog fed, maybe cleaning up the dog's area, switching out some laundry, and having it written down, and then having those certain times of the day that you do that helps it become a pattern and a habit, and it's much easier to do it. So this could be stuff like regular stuff, like I said, cleaning up toys before dad gets home, or it could be things like cleaning the bathrooms, or you might just say, I have a 1 hour block in the afternoon, and I am going to get as much as I can done in that 1 hour block. And I could go on and on and on and talk your ears off about how to get your chores done and how to come up with this list and everything. But I already did that. I've already put everything bundled together in the Tidy Home. And when I said the word bundle, you thought of the bundle of the Tidy Home and your homeschool blueprint. Listening to this episode hopefully has encouraged you to come up with a system. And if you don't want to come up with that system on your own, that's where the Tidy Home is going to come alongside you. I have shared the entire process of how to go through and decide to make all of these decisions. I've made it very, very easy for you. All you have to do is go through the course and actually do it. And I am right there alongside you to help you through that. And with this bundle, you can get a Tidy Home and your homeschool blueprint. So while you are getting your home chore system set up, let's get your homeschool set up too. Let's have both of those things functioning so well. Basically on autopilot, sort of ish, right? And it's just as a rinse and a repeat, and it's something that is customized to you. That is my goal in those two courses, is for you to create a customized chore system and a customized homeschool for your family for this year. And it's a resource that you'll continue to use year after year. You can get all that information and get going on those at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/bundle. And the link will also be in the show notes. And remember, we are doing one more episode here for the Back to Homeschool series, and that will be out on Thursday. Until then, I will see you over at the bundle because guess what? It closes down in just a couple more days. Thank you for listening, friend. I'd love to connect with you more. You can find social media links in the show notes and share this episode with a friend who could use a boost to her homeschool. See you back here real soon.